Welcome to the final week of wireless security. We're dealing this week with Chapter 13 in the Wireless and Mobile Device Security Second Edition book by Jim Doherty. And we're going to deal with a few topics here like scanning the corporate network and Kali Linux and several others. I only have 4 pages here, so this should go fairly quickly here, and I'll try to keep each video less than 10 minutes and hopefully not much more than 5. All right, let's get going. Scanning the corporate network for mobile attackers. The idea here is that we realize that attackers scan us in order to discover what's on the network so that they can attack it. Well, we need to do the same thing in reverse. We need to be scanning for bad guys. There are various kinds of rogue devices or various ways that rogue devices can bother us. One is if it's in promiscuous mode. Now, some wireless adapters are capable of promiscuous mode, which means they can hear everything on the network, not just what's intended for that device. Infected devices can also get on our network and, of course, can move the infection from the device to the network. We want to avoid that, particularly worms, of course, which can move through networks all on their own. We need to make sure that the security requirements are met. If somebody brings in a device that is not up to snuff on security, we need to make sure that its security stance, its security posture is in good shape before we allow it onto our network. What we usually do is send it over to a remediation server, and the remediation server will get it squared up into shape before we allow it on our network. And then, of course, devices can act as access points. It's real easy for somebody to create an access point by plugging their wireless router into the wall jack, or even a phone, which is capable of Wi-Fi both incoming and outgoing, and it can act as an access point that other people that are not, you're already logged onto the network, but other people can use your device then, which is already logged on, to have access to the network through your wireless device. You would never know what's happening since it's all wireless. Let's talk about the Kali Linux security platform. Kali Linux is an all-in-one Linux distro, and it has, when I say all-in-one, it's a lot of hacking tools, if you will. We said penetration testing tools here. That's the nice way to say it. Okay, if they're penetration testing tools, they're also hacking tools. They can do information gathering, vulnerability analysis, wireless attacks, which are real easy in Kali Linux, by the way, web application attacks, exploitation tools, which we'll talk about Metasploit in a little while, forensics, stress testing, sniffing, spoofing, password and hardware hacking. Yeah, you can do a lot through Kali Linux. Let's talk about 4 of the tools specifically. Metasploit is on Kali Linux, and that is a very, very powerful penetration testing tool. The idea of it is that it scans for vulnerabilities, and when it finds them, it actually has scripts built into it to attack that vulnerability. So again, very powerful. A bit of a learning curve to learn to use it, but once you learn, my goodness, it is one powerful piece of software. The Fern Wi-Fi cracker is pretty awesome. I've used this in many classes where we set it up and set up maybe a router in the front of the room, and then students get a chance to use this to crack WEP or WPA or WPA2. I don't think it's really up to snuff there on WPA3, but it does really well for the other 3. Aircrack NG does that as well, but it's a suite of tools that does some other things, monitoring, attacking, and cracking, and so on. So Aircrack NG is a little harder to use, by the way. Fern Wi-Fi Cracker is pretty easy to use. AeroDump NG, let's talk about that one some more. It's a scanning tool to find rogue devices. So what you do is you collect the list of all the devices using AeroDump NG, and once you've got the list, you simply compare it with who's supposed to be on the network and who's allowed to be on the network, and then find the anomalies. And the anomalies, of course, the outliers, are the bad guys. So one last thing about Kali Linux is that Kali only provides single user access, which is kind of an odd duck in the Linux world. Linux came from Unix. In the Unix days, we would have $1 million computer in the middle of the premises, and then everybody would attach to it through their dumb terminals at their desks. So you had to have a multi-user system. Kali Linux only provides single user access. All right, we're going to stop here, and then we will pick it up here in part 3 in the next video. Remember, this is only 4 pages long, and this is already the beginning of page 2, so hopefully it won't take us that long today.